The most popular prophecy, in Western Christian circles, is known as the invasion of Gog from Magog, described in Ezekiel 38. It describes an invasion upon the Holy Lands by a mysterious enemy who Ezekiel calls Gog. Many Christians in the West are convinced that Gog is Russia, and are expecting that in World War III this prophecy will be fulfilled, and Russia will invade Israel. This in fact has no relation to reality, and stems from CIA Cold War era propaganda. The first and most important fact about the Gog invasion lies not in Ezekiel, but in the book of Revelation. And when 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. What this is telling us is that the Gog invasion, for which all the American Christians are preparing with such eagerness, is not now, but after Christ's millennial rule, 1,000 years from now. The second most important point about the Gog invasion is that it has nothing to do with Russia. The interpretation that Gog is Russia stems from a deliberate mistranslation, which exists only in the New American Standard Bible Version, published in 1971, in the midst of the Cold War. Son of man, set your face toward Gog, of the land of Magog, the prince of Rosh, Meshech and Tuval, and prophesy against him. The original King James Version, however, states the following: Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tuval, and prophesy against him. What we see is that the words chief prince are replaced with prince of Rosh. However, Rosh is not a name, but an untranslated Hebrew word, which means chief or head. For example, the Jewish New Year is called Rosh Hashanah, meaning the head of the year. The New American Standard Bible left the word Rosh untranslated, and afterwards this was used as CIA propaganda in Christian churches during the Cold War, to claim that Rosh is the old root word for Russia. In fact, the root word for Russia is not Rosh, but Rus, meaning blonde. So, if Gog is not Russia, who is he then? The first clue lies in the land of Magog. Magog is Noah's grandson. We know that after the flood Noah's ark landed on Mount Ararat, which is today in eastern Turkey. It would be logical to assume that Noah's grandson, Magog, would not have settled far from there. The second clue is Meshech, Tuval, Gomer, and Togarmah, all of who are mentioned in Ezekiel 38, as tribes over who Gog rules. According to the historical textbook and Atlas of Biblical Geography by Coleman, from 1854, all these tribes were located in the peninsula of Asia Minor, now occupied by Turkey. The third clue is the name Gog. This is a name which an ancient people had. The Turks of Asia Minor came from Central Asia during the Turkic Seljuk Empire's expansion in the 11th century. And a second wave of Turkic refugees came in the 13th century, escaping the Mongol invasion. These Central Asian Turks became the chief prince of Asia Minor. Central Asia has been occupied by Turkic tribes for thousands of years. Only one time in history were they unified under one name. In the 6th century they called themselves Gokturk. Thus, the name Gog is synonymous with the name Turk. Gog, in the land of Magog, chief prince of Meshech and Tuval, is the perfect description of today's country of Turkey. It is believed that Ezekiel made this prophecy somewhere around 580 BC, approximately 1,140 years before the Turkic invasions. Furthermore, the King James Version states that Gog will come from the north, but the New American Standard Bible pushes the concept of an invasion from the remote parts of the north, attempting to fit it with Russia. The prophecy also states that the invasion will be made on horseback with swords. This is because it will happen 1,000 years from now, in a post-apocalyptic world. And when this invasion of Turkey comes upon Israel, we are told that God will stand with the Jews, and they will win the war, and that God will help them by punishing Turkey with fire from the sky. And I will send a fire on Magog, and among them that dwell carelessly in the isles. Those dwelling carelessly on the isles is obviously a reference to Turkey's neighboring country, Greece. Of course, the New American Standard Bible changes the text to push its anti-Russia propaganda. And I will send fire upon Magog, and those who inhabit the coastlands in safety. All this is not to say that Russia will not invade the West, but just to make clear that the Gog invasion has no relation to Russia, and is not now, but 1,000 years from now, and anyone pushing this should be considered a possible agent of the hidden hand. Before we delve deep into the apocalyptic prophecies, it is good to get one thing out of the way first. The identity of the Antichrist, who plays a key role in the apocalypse story.